Contextualization, Adaptation, and Classroom Management. Prepared by Padero Mira Angelo B.
Evangelista Joel Patrick Nanale,
and Olmelio Felix Jr. B.
So what is contextualization? It is anything a teacher does to help create understanding of language and or using materials such as actual objects, pictures, gestures, or language. Contextualization. Contextualizing the materials based on what is needed and available is part of the creative art process. Resourcefulness and self-expression are some of the skills that can be developed through art practice and creation, especially in elementary students. However, we tend to limit ourselves based on what we see in the museums and books, such as oil paintings and the master on canvas. We can see how the indigenous people in the different parts of the country use materials that are readily available and relevant to them, such as using natural dyes to color textile and wood to make sculptures. The same can be applied in our classroom. Even if we want to exactly follow the curriculum and competencies, the reality is that art materials cannot easily accessible, especially if the school does not have the budget. In most cases, the teacher is discouraged to continue and enjoy the art lesson. It's because not all students have the required materials or might require a lot of monetary sacrifice. But what is good about art is that it can be flexible, arbitrary, and spontaneous. Modifying the activities to make it relevant and more accessible to the students is preferable than strictly following the mandated lessons if students cannot procure materials. Teachers can make the lessons more relevant to the students if they use everyday themes or materials that can be related to. The more concrete, familiar the topic, the more children can understand the concept of the lesson. So the following are the examples. Diwata dal using found objects such as twigs and dried leaves. So these were made during the quarantine period 2020, wherein teachers and students use art materials available to them at home. A student paints on a rock which is readily available in their community instead of a canvas. Next is tissue paper roll art, top left cardboard. Mobile and lanterns. So top right, tissue roll puppet with dancing feet by Gian Lower, left pin holder. For this activity, students are able to create something new using everyday materials. So these activities can be integrated in different subjects. Are relevant topics such as role-playing, puppets, and making symbols, lanterns.
Adapting tools and activities. As a teacher, we have to ensure the active participation of all students with or without special needs. Students who are challenged with verbal communication and expression, such as children with autism, can use art tool to express their thoughts, interests, wishes, and feelings. As art teachers, we have to keep our hearts and minds open to do the extra effort and time to find ways to make art accessible and enjoyable to all our students. So there are adaptive tools for drawing or writing. So first is tissue roll for stiff or weak grips. Second is weighted pencils using metals hex not for stability and body awareness of proprioception. Next is triangular spans for small hands and better grip. Next is paper clip with rubber bands to practice tripod grip. Next is plastic or toy ball for a larger grip. Last one is pen with lace attached to the wrist to secure the pencil back to the center of the thumb and index finger. Planning the activities can be done by consulting and collaborating with a student's advisor or special education teacher. Art has no definite right or wrong answers or method, and that makes inclusions of children of all abilities easier. Adaptation can be made after careful observations of the student's need or reading their individualized education plan or IEP. At the beginning of this academic year, the teacher can give easy tasks that aim to observe the student's basic skills in art, such as gripping writing tools, using scissors, and ability to follow instructions independently. Some adaptations in teachers' painting for students with motor challenges or cerebral palsy. Differentiation and modification. Art teachers are not only creative in coming up with art lessons, but in differentiating their abilities as well. Tasks and expectations can be modified into level 1, level 2, and level 3 according to difficulty. The differentiated approach to teaching is usually practiced in mixed level classes and inclusive classes where there are students with special needs. Example is the following lesson are watercolor beach painting. Level 1, Top. Top uses oil pastels to outline and create a barrier between the colors. This requires less control and prevents the wet paint from smudging and going outside the lines. The level 2, Bottom, uses only a pencil for outline. This requires more control in order to make precise lines. Other adaptations include taping the paper on a board so it won't move and wrap. Using visual cards is also helpful in reminding students about the techniques used in watercolor painting. The second photo shows 3 levels of drawing profiles. Level 1 is very simple, circular shape for the head, followed by level 2 which has more curves, and level 3 which is an anime-like illustration.
Other helpful strategies in managing the classroom. So first is the time management. Art production can be very time consuming. It takes time to set up and to clean up. Sometimes when you are in the zone or when they are engaged, your kids even lose track of time. So it is important that you choose an activity that can be realistically done in the given amount of time. Break down long process into several sessions so that students won't rush. It is important to announce the allotted time at the beginning of the class and give reminders every 15 minutes and last 15 minutes 10 minutes and 5 minutes. So if you notice that a student is working slower than the rest, it is the best to point out what parts are taking so long. For example, a student takes a long time to perfect the drawing of the shape of the face. So you can tell him that it is okay for it to not be perfect. Help him find a way to make it perfect. So example, using a compass or tracing a plate. So if it is really taking so long, you can do it for him, but only on that specific part. So as the teacher, you have to identify students who are stuck or engrossed in a process and address it as soon as possible. So let them realize that perfection is not the goal, but completion with satisfactory outcome. Next, next is the managing student expectation through visual schedule cards. So visual cards help students keep track of the process. Students tend to get more engaged when they know what they are supposed to do next and when they know how much more do they need to do. So put a schedule vertically and process horizontally. So when they get lost, just point to remind them on what activity they should do. So example of visual cards is the visual schedule boards are presented before starting the lesson. So this helps students, especially children with autism, to know what to expect, when it will end, and to track their progress. So this helps students be aware of time, whether or not it is time to move to the next step. So expectations such as finishing and cleaning up their workspace can also be included. So next is the setting up the teacher's demo area and student workspace. So position yourself in a space where you can see all students and all students can see you. So setting arrangement and classroom layout are also important because these dictate how students interact and share materials. So first is the demo table. So a teacher needs a demo table to put his or her materials. So it is usually a long table where one side is for demo and the other side is for the materials. Next is the work area or student setting arrangement. So the students should have an ample workspace. So ideally, a long table that is waterproof should be used. So individual tables and chairs are also okay but can be sometimes hard to go around and guide individually. So it is better to work on the floor if you are painting, especially when sharing materials. So in the classroom, the tables and chairs should be placed in such a way that the teacher can move to the back of the room to the demo table with ease. So stations or so it is optional. So to make your art room more manageable, you can lay out the room with the designated areas like wash area, drying area, materials area, work area, and art display area. And next is the preparing for fast finishers. So some students are fast finishers. So either they rush their work or they are simply efficient and good at what they do. To prevent students from disturbing other students, prepare some coloring pages or activities that the fast finishers can do. So they have to know this beforehand so that they won't get upset if they realize that they will still have work to do. So other tasks can be helping out the teacher sort art materials, cut tape, clean up workspaces, wash brushes, and etc. So keeping their hands and minds busy can lessen your stress in managing their behavior. And last one is the post-production and cleaning up. So, cleaning is crucial. Students need to learn how to clean their own space and recognize shared responsibility of cleaning common spaces. Showing respect to materials is a skill they can apply for the rest of their lives. So, it is important that these are ingrained in them during their early years.